first off, call our roll. So, Madam Clerk, you call the roll of the City Commission, and then Mr. Herrick, you will call the roll of your board.
Commissioner Bascule.
Here.
Rossi.
Here.
Kuzinski.
Here.
Rutter.
Here.
Silver. Here. Davidson.
Rossi.
Rogers. Here. Clemens.
Here.
Morris.
Here. The City Commission has a quorum.
Thank you. On behalf of the County Commission, I'd like to welcome everybody here and introduce the County Commission. This is where we're taking our role. I'm Tom Herrick, I'm the Chairman of the Board, and then next to me is Kim Coonan. Next to him is Bernie Krieger, County Executive Jim Barsha, County Commissioner Mike Lutz, County Commissioner Mike Duranchik, and at the other end of the table on the far end, almost second person on the end, is Commissioner Tom Ryder. So most of us are here, 99% of us are here, and we'll see if we can get something done here today. We'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Again, I want to thank everybody that came out. We had that big snowstorm last night, so thanks everybody for being here. I do want to apologize for one thing. At our town hall meeting last month, I had said that this would be live streamed. It's just taped for later viewing, so I just wanted to apologize for that. So the folks will have access to it. So I'd like to go through, we invited a number of higher up elected officials and other community stakeholders to this meeting, so I'd like to just kind of go down the list and if I can have those folks stand up that are present to the meeting. We already know that County Executive Jim Barsha is here. Is there anybody from Senator Gary Peters' office? Congressman Dan Kilday's office. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Senator Green. Kurt Steidel. Brad Pilarski from Labor Local 1098. Matt Falon. Brian Terra. Jim Lilo. Road Commission. Representative from Senator Stafford's office. State Representative Gary Glenn. State Representative Brian Elder. Trevor Keys from Bay Future. Sam Houston from Local 324. And then I guess everybody else seems like you're just community stakeholders. You'll have an opportunity to join the discussion during public comment. So thank you all again for coming. So I guess first on the roundtable discussion, I'd like to just kind of go around. We've got the folks up here up front. Just ask for their input, what they think should be the direction that we go with our to solve this bridge problem. We do have some information if the public wants to know that were questions asked in the past. So. Senator Green, I know that you've had a lot of movement on our bridge problem, and you've helped us in the past. So if you wanted to start us off, just your input for it. Anybody at that table?
Nope.
Well, I wanted to thank Commissioner David Rossi for posting this on Facebook, because that's how I found out about it. I don't have a presentation. Thank you.
I apologize, Mr. Elder, but we did send an email to your office to invite you to that, along with the emails that went out to the rest of us.
Ryan, did you want to, or Mr. Terry, did you have any ideas to suggest?
Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
You know, I think this is a good first step to invite. Is there a microphone? You want me to have a microphone? I think this is a good first step to have an open public meeting. The chamber is looking forward to working with the county and city to find solutions. I know Matt Vaughn from the Regional Alliance has offered his assistance as well. And I know that there's been discussions about, you know, what to do. I think there's a number of options on the table, and we're happy to help with any of those, whether it's, you know, we talked about extending M15 to I-75, or, you know, obviously goals have been an issue, you know, what that looks like. But, you know, and the chamber is willing to go out in the community and host some more of these, you know, as necessary, if the city and the county want to look at millage and educate the public.
Thank you, Ryan. Mr. Blige, did you have anything?
Sure. So from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance perspective, we have a couple thoughts. We may be a little bit more aggressive in our thinking at this point and willing to take on a little bit more. First of all, the first thing we would say, we don't believe this problem is a Bay City or Bay County problem. We think it extends way beyond that. I'm a Bay City resident. I live right on the center in Trumbull, basically. And any weekend in the summer, if you're just sitting at that corner and you see the vehicles going by, boats, campers, clearly people heading out of the thumb, going across, connecting to I-75 and heading north. That is a big piece of where that traffic comes. It comes down 25 and they head back over. So we don't necessarily think that the first move should be to put the burden solely on taxpayers of the city of Bay City or on the taxpayers of just the county of Bay County. We believe that that bridge is really a bridge used by people all across the state. You know, you can get people from Metro Detroit that want to avoid 75 coming north, that come up M15 and cut through our city and get to 75 to get around the traffic. Doesn't seem fair that the first move should be that the city and county should be the ones that are hit with that burden. So that's number one. Number two, we would say anything that disrupts those four bridges will lead towards money leaving Bay County. So if people find that that's a problem, they're going to avoid Bay City or Bay County. That's bad for Bay County. It's bad for the entire Great Lakes Bay region. So our thought from the Alliance perspective, and we represent various companies across a 4 to 8 county region, we think we should do everything in our power first to see if the state can assist in this effort. If you look at similar bridges across the state, these drawbridges that go up to let both commercial and recreational boats through, they're generally paid for by the state. So we think that we should use the full power of our region. We should lobby those in the thumb. We should lobby those in Metro Detroit. And we should do everything first to have the state truly extend M15 from where it ends at Center now, find a way to get the official route changed to go over Independence Bridge and to I-75. And until we've absolutely exhausted that, we shouldn't do anything else. Let's do that first. Let's see how we do. Let's see if we can get that burden shared across the state. And then if that for some reason will fail, then look at the other options.
Trevor, did you have any input?
I would just echo the same thing. I think, you know, Bay Future is the economic development organization that leads economic development in Bay County specifically. We're part of Governor's Prosperity Region 5 initiative that looks at economic efforts and attracting companies from around the world to our region, or to Bay County, you know, specifically for us. I think that's one of the things, you know, when companies, we're working on myriad of different projects right now. People are Googling Bay City and Bay County, and this being one of the things that kind of pops up top of the list, is potentially a deterrent, potentially something that that businesses aren't interested in. Well, they've had these bridges for how long? You know, they need to come together and they need to figure this out. And that's one of the things I think we can help do. But coming from that perspective, that's one of the, we have so many great opportunities, so many great resources that are here in our community to help attract companies, help companies continue to grow in the community. But that's just kind of one detriment that we really don't even get a chance to rebut. I would say that, you know, it's absolutely dire for us and our businesses to figure out how exactly we can work together to get this this burden kind of off of both municipalities and really take a look at how that's going to affect us long term and what the long term goals are through this process. So I'm very happy to be a part of the process, very happy to see so many people here that really care and have stake in what's going to happen, and looking forward to hearing some of those ideas put on the table and working through them. So thank you.
Mr. Bennett, did you have anything to add?
Just put that right there. Yeah, that's what we're gonna
Work out it.
Thanks. No, I'll just be very, very brief. The Congressman asked me to come here not to direct anything that the Bay City should do. It's to support your guys' effort. So if you want to, if there are federal grants out there, Congressman obviously will support that. We'll help to support whatever the city decides. But we are not directing what the city is. I'm here to listen to you and to your directions coming in here. Unfortunately, years ago, we used to have things like earmarks where the congressman can direct X amount of dollars to go to a project. Now it is competitive within regions and states. So you're competing with all the other grants in the other states. And that's where the congressman will definitely do things like writing support letters and reaching out to the agencies, advocating for whatever route you guys want to do. So thank you. I'm here to listen to you guys.
So, thank you everybody at the table for that roundtable discussion. Do any of the city or county board members have any input to add?
Andrew, if I could start, I'm sure this will be lengthy because a lot of the individuals at the table here, the front table, I'm sure will want to weigh in with their views. But I want to make it very clear because I think some of the media coverage has been a little spotty in terms of the county's position. I can't speak for the county commissioners. However, I can say as the Bay County executive, I'd like to outline what my, I guess, views are. And I think this is this morning, this is a wonderful turnout, given the weather conditions and the temperature, to see a room full of people who are concerned about the future of Bay City and Bay County and the region. I think this is, want to thank all of you for your interest and for your help as we move forward and jointly in a united fashion try to craft a solution to this major challenge that is affecting Big City, Bay County, and as I said, the region. I would like to share a few thoughts, and so I just say as a prior United States representative for the region, I am aware that the Independence Bridge is a regional thoroughfare. It impacts travel on a multi-county level as well as our local businesses, especially those along the Wilder Road corridor. The health of those local businesses impacts the entire county as a whole, from employing county residents to contributing to the tax base that pays for county-wide services for all Bay County residents. I want to thank all of the previous speakers, but I think Matt Fallon hit it on the head and Trevor in terms of the economic vitality of this entire region. Not only the 8 counties, but I too and all of you are aware that about 30% or close to it of the traffic that uses Independence Bridge are not even Bay County residents. So it impacts the region, it impacts our economy, and I think we need that kind of united approach from the region if we're going to receive assistance from the state in solving our dilemma. As the county executive, my concern rests with the burden placed on local Bay County residents to sustain this regional bridge. I remain convinced that the best possible resolution involves obtaining state and/or federal government assistance. This assistance could involve MDOT declaring the roadway between M15 and I-75, and I and all of my, I think, predecessors from Bay County that served Bay County in the legislature, Senator Green and all of our legislators, whether they were Bay County residents or not have seen this as a challenge and wanted to help. We have met with firm resistance in my own history from Governor Milliken all the way through up until recently Governor Snyder and Kurt Steidl, our MDOT director, who is a Bay County native, by the way. We've worked on it for years. I did get it through the House when I was serving Congress. Unfortunately, Senator Abraham, acting on behalf of Governor Engler and MDOT and Lansing, had the language removed in the U.S. Senate. But as it have it designated as a state highway, and the Independence is as a state bridge. It could involve the federal government providing funding through the Economic Development Authority, the EDA, as the bridge does lead to a busy business district. I know that EDA grant funding was provided for the tear down and rebuild of a bridge in Big Rapids over the Muskegon River. Recently, because it caught the EDA's interest as it led to an industrial park. Perhaps the city could engage MCOG, our East Michigan Council of Governments, to look into that grant funding along with our federal legislators. We do have the Marquette Industrial Park, which abuts the approach to the Independence Bridge. Finally, if these alternate funding sources do not bear fruit, and the city requests that the County Road Commission and Board of Commissioners place a millage or bond proposal on the ballot, it needs to be for a reasonable structure whose cost will not unduly burden our county taxpayers. Perhaps the replacement of similar size Bascule Bridge with updated mechanics to provide for less operating costs and repairs would be feasible. However, the city must first assess through engineering studies what the overall cost will be, as well as what type of bond or millage is being requested or is even available before such an issue can be placed on any ballot. I look forward to working with the city, local businesses and stakeholders, our Board of Commissioners, city commissioners, all elected officials throughout Bay County, especially our township officials, who I believe wanted to be represented here, and I haven't had a chance. I arrived just before the meeting started, so I didn't see too many of the township here, but they have weighed in significantly with me. There is a framework that the state has on transportation villages that would permit, there's one right there in front of me, that would permit local governments to request a millage for transportation be remitted back to their unit of government for road improvements. So if that were to be the case, and a millage was placed on the ballot that would fund a structure that has been proposed by United Bridge Partners, I had our Bay County treasurer determine what the millage rate would be across the county. And in 2017, the taxable value of the city of Bay City was $525,242,541. 1 mill would generate across the county $525,242 per year. To collect $200 million over 30 years, or $6,666,667 per year, you would need to levy 12.69 mills a year for 30 years. This would include interest on a bond. Rough estimate of 4% for 30 years in interest would be another $120 million. So $320 million over 30 years would require 20.30 mills for a period of 30 years. Interesting to note, the city of Bay City's taxable value is only 19% of the county's taxable valuation. But I am deeply concerned about our city residents. they're my constituents as well, and our county commissioners. And what I had stated at a previous city commission, this represents the 7th meeting I've attended, and some of our commissioners with the city, trying to look at all of the options that we have to help keep the tax burden low if we have to assume this responsibility of replacing independence, just the city and the county without federal and state and MDOT assistance. And just want to remind everyone, each of us, when we purchase a gallon of gasoline, we pay 47 cents toward infrastructure in state and federal gas taxes, 27 from the state and 19 from the federal government. So having served on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee in Congress for 10 years, 5 terms, I'm familiar with, how communities have dealt in the past with expenditures of this magnitude, and almost always it involves not just local taxpayers, but a return on the investment for infrastructure that all of our motorists who purchase gasoline pay when they purchase a gallon of gasoline, and pay approximately 47 cents of that price to go toward our maintenance of our roads and bridges. So this is a wonderful turnout. It's amazing to see everybody out today, and I'm confident we'll solve this problem. We'll have a nice, beautiful, safe structure to serve for decades our region. And but we need to look at all the options and put our collective will and influence together to make it happen. Didn't mean to want so long, yes, but I know you're Andrew. I know you're used to me, so thanks everyone for listening. And we have all these community leaders, and I'm sure they'll want to weigh in with their perspectives. Most importantly, though, the people in the room hopefully will have an opportunity to express what they think is the best way forward on solving this issue. Thank you very much, City Commission President.
Thank you, Mr. Berkshire. Does any other city or county folks want to weigh?
Thank you. So I'm Bruce Bascule, 7th Ward City Commissioner, Vice President of the Commission, just for informational purposes. I just want to, first of all, thank everybody for being here, all the city commissioners, all the county commissioners, all the elected officials, all the stakeholders, all the citizens. This is incredibly important, and I feel that as a commissioner, it is the most important thing that I will do in my tenure. I'm starting my 2nd term, my 5th year, and we've had some big decisions, but this is by far the biggest because it affects everybody beyond the city, beyond the county, it's the entire region, and it's a safety issue, and it's an economic issue, and I am beyond thankful that everyone has come together, and we are doing something now that we haven't been able to do in the past. In the past is the past, it's what it has been. This is where we are now, and this is where we're moving forward, and we have big brains and big ideas, and new people constantly coming in and out. So I'm more than excited to hear all the ideas. We've heard a ton, we're going to hear more. This is going to, the end of this, there will be a resolution. There's going to be something, and we're hoping that it's going to be something that actually makes 99% of the people happy, because no one's ever going to be happy about everything. But I think that we're in a spot now that we've never been before, and I can't express how this is a huge thing for everybody to be together like this. I asked, I think Commissioner Lush before, like from the county, when was the last time that, you see the city and the county sit down together in a room, and then to have a room full of stakeholders and elected citizens who are all going to give to this. So we are listening to our citizens. We want to do what's best for you. We want what's safe. We want what's best. We love Bay County. We're here for a reason. There's great things happening. There's bigger things happening, but this has to be done and has to be taken care of. Mr. Barsha gave wonderful detailed information about what we need to do, so I'm not going to get into the numbers, but that's going to be talked about. But we need to talk to, more talking, and we don't want this to drag out for a long time because there are safety issues that have to be addressed with this bridge, but my goal at least, is to talk to as many people as we can, our business owners, our stakeholders, our citizens, our government leaders, so that we can truly make this happen. So I'm sure lots of people have lots of things to say, so I'm not going to keep going on and on, but we welcome everything. Thank you all for being here.
They're busy.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Newsom, Mayor of Bay City. And once again, I'm glad that you all can make it. I know 10 o'clock in the morning is not an easy time to get as many people here as we would like, but I appreciate all of you who are here this morning. And this problem just didn't happen in the last few years. In 1989, it was a problem, and there were concerns then. And so here we are in 2018, about 29 years later, and the problem has escalated. Carice Kasmajian mentioned the safety issue. The bridges are in deplorable condition as we speak, and I do worry about the safety, but I'm very happy that we have other people here who are willing to work with us and go with us and speak to the outlying townships who really are probably on the edge, because I don't know how many of the townships that are up north really are going to be willing to help out with our bridge. But that's one of the things that we have to look at. United Bridge Partners have been working with the city off and on for about 2 years. So what they offer is something totally different, something that's never happened here in Bay City. We have a toll bridge that connects the upper and lower peninsulas. So we don't have anything close to even look at, to talk about. But with other people here, all the stakeholders, all of us, and like Jim Barsha said, this is his 7th time that he's met, and he's been at several of our meetings, and we have met to talk about this concern. But my biggest worry is we can't put this out too far down the road. It needs to be taken care of quickly as we can, because I fear for people's safety. I cross the bridge every day, 3 or 4 times a day, and you need to be aware of that. If we don't do something sooner than later, we could have an issue that no city, no county, no state wants to have happen. So I hope we can move this along quickly when we break into our small groups and go forward and get this done very, very soon. Thank you.
I noticed that go ahead, Mr. Dragic.
Thank you very much. Mike Duranchak, I represent northern townships. I have 7 townships in the city of Pink County. Roughly, commissioners have approximately 16,000 constituents in their district. Mine happens to be the largest district. And I'm here to tell you, whatever the plan may be, or whatever, right now, is from the township people, I go around to their meetings and everything, it's going to probably be defeated to about like the gas tax was a few years back. It's going to go down 80%. And I think I may be conservative at that. I've polled several people in the city of Bay City that I know and stuff. They're not all in favor of a millage either. Doesn't matter if it's 3/4 of a mill, doesn't matter if it's 1 mill or half a mill. These folks up there have roads that are, they're terrible. We've got bridges, we've got 2 bridges and 2 townships up there that have been out for some time. Where's my money for my road? Where's my $500,000 from the last get-go when the townships up there were supposed to get $1 million? They got about half the money. These old timers and these people up there, they don't forget that, folks. Every time I see them, hey, where's my money? Where's my money? So I think that, and what coming from me, that the best approach there is to do like Mr. Keys and Mr. Milan. We need to get this, go after some economic development money, get this on a state road and stuff, because I'm telling you, a millage is going to be hard pressed up north. Again, I'm just one commissioner from 16,000 people up there, but folks, it's loud and clear to me. And I represent them, and that's how I have to vote. Thank you. And again, thank you to the city of Bay City for putting this on and everything. Thank you.
Commissioner Davidson.
Yes, I'm not going to go through the dog and pony show. Welcome, everybody. You know you're welcome here. Your voices are well accepted here. I agree with Mr. Duranjak. I've been out in the public about this bridge issue, and working local fish fry in the area, as close as I hear. I know for a fact a millage or a bond will not fly with my taxpayers. I hear from the 5th Ward and the 6th Ward. We have to do something serious with these bridges. It is coming down to where we need to make that tough decision. That's what we got put in these offices for. I want to thank State Senator Green for all the work that he's tried to do for us at that state level. Sitting on the Michigan Municipal League's Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and looking at things for municipalities. It is hard to go out and get that money for our bridges. I hear Executive Barsha state the word if we can get local funds, if we can get federal funds. And we're competing with everybody else in this state for those federal dollars. If we get federal dollars, it's going to be a little to fix something that needs major repairs. You can see where I'm going with this. I'm a proponent of getting rid of those bridges. I hate to put that rain cloud on everybody, but I will refuse to put it on the back of that city taxpayers themselves. And I see a couple of people shaking their heads. That's what we got put in office for, to make those tough decisions. I don't like that word if. 20 mil I hear out there, that's not going to fly. And it's just not going to fly. And if you can get it down to 1 mil, that'd be great. But that's not going to happen. 1 mil's not going to bring us anything. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Kuhn.
Thank you, sir. We need both my name's Kim Coonan, and County Commissioner. We need to have a long-range plan and a short-range plan. The long-range plan is to work with the state and to have them, I don't know how you convince them that they have responsibility for that bridge on Independence. The short term, what we need to do is to get some real numbers. Maybe the next time or the last bridge, those bridges are annually tested, correct? So what we need to do is either look at the last and the next time that the bridge structure is tested and come up with whatever is being determined needs to be done there, have some bridge company come in and get the costs on that, because we're not just going to, we have to get these bridges brought up to speed. And if there's something that needs to be done, whatever that cost is, I looked at in the brochure here, $5 or $7 million. We need to do something short term, and that probably is going to have to be a millage, hopefully a countywide millage. I know in my business I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of these folks are outside of the city, and they are more than willing. I haven't heard anybody say that they wouldn't pay for or support a millage to bring those bridges up to speed. So I don't think that's necessarily a major problem, I think the problem that we have to do is to provide real numbers to the general public and educate them and give them options on what may happen. And so I think what we need to do is a twofold. Long-term, let's lobby Lansing. I don't know if that's ever going to work. Jim's been there 20 years. That may not work. But we can't just close our eyes and hope the problem goes away. So my thought is, next time that bridge has their annual inspection, that whatever they say needs to be done, go out and get an RFP and have a quote done by a reputable bridge company, see where we're at and what we need to do and how we have to go about educating the general public, because those bridges do need money in the very short term. So hopefully we can do that and get some information to the general public.
Mr. Coonan, just so you're aware, the presentation that we gave at our town hall last week had those numbers, and it's, I believe the folks in the audience have this as well. The presentation on page 3 shows the short-term and long-term capital needs of the Independence Trail Delivery Bridge, and page 5 shows the short-term and long-term needs for the Independence Bridge, just so you're aware. So we do have
I saw that, and if there's going to be another bridge inspection this year, it's annually inspected, correct? All right, well then let's compare the two and go out and, I don't know if that was done, the cost, short-term, long-term was done by a reputable bridge construction company.
I don't know personally who did it.
Well, here's what we need to do. We need to figure out what needs to be done and have somebody come in and give us some numbers and then go from there and educate the public.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you everyone for coming. It's really great to see everyone here. I think that this shows how important it truly is and how much everyone here understands how important this bridge issue is. Just a few things as I was listening. What I heard from Marcia is that this cannot be a city-only solution. What I heard from Matt Milan was that this is a vital key piece to the Great Lakes Bay region as a whole. That also includes the county, that includes more than just Bay County. And what I really want to see here as we continue these talks, what is majorly important is that we were put in office to find solutions. This is not a new problem. This has been around, like Kevin Newsham stated. And I urge everyone here to keep their minds open to finding those solutions. Thank you.
Any other city or county folks want to? Commissioner Ryder?
As a county commissioner, I represent the first, second, third, and fourth ward. And the people that have talked to me, simply, they would like to see either millage or a shutdown. There's nobody with a stomach for toll bridge. And I can understand that when you go on top of the Milwaukee Bridge. Can you picture that in this city? I mean, it's just unbelievable. But from my position, I think, first of all, we need, nothing against Mr. Dion, but I think we need some expertise. I think we need an engineering firm to come in and evaluate at least the Independence Bridge and give some options to us. You take a 40-some-year-old bridge and you stick money in the 40-some-year-old bridge, and what's that going to get you? How long is that going to survive? Then we got to think about that maintenance in between. And how are we going to pay for the maintenance on a 40-whatever-year-old bridge? And for how long? I love what I hear from Matt and Trevor. That's great to have all our troubles go away with state government and federal government. We should
really pursue that. But in the meantime, I think we need a contingency plan, you know, of what we're going to do with that bridge, Independence Bridge, in the meantime, and what's it gonna cost us, and how are we gonna pay for that? Countywide millage, if we're going to do a countywide millage, there has to be something in it for the outside big city townships and small cities. And we have to be able to go out and we have to educate those residents and not just about how many mills it's going to take and how long it's going to take to pay that, but what's it going to cost them in their back pocket? That's what everybody wants to know. Well, the residents I talked to in the first, second, third quarter, their first thing is a millage, right? But they don't know what's coming out of their back pocket. When they sit down to plan their monthly bills, can they afford it? You know, people are struggling. I knocked on a lot of doors and talked to a lot of people, and they are really struggling within this group. And they need some relief, and they need some hope. The biggest thing is hope. Hope that one day, this, you know, going into the back pocket stops or subsides. They can't afford this anymore. And that's what it's basically going to come down to, is our residents. They're the ones that are going to pay, and they're the ones that are going to suffer.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. And before I get to you, Commissioner Tarasi, I just want to clear up something that this year we currently are going to be using OHM advisors for our, we have biannual bridge inspections. And last year we used ACOM for bridge inspection. So it's like those firms are firms that a lot of municipalities use for bridge inspections. I know I used OHM when I was up in Pink County for that short period of time. Commissioner Tarasi?
Yes, David Tarasi, 2nd Ward City Commissioner, representing Center Avenue and the streets surrounding, also part of downtown, as well. I'm a downtown business owner. I've been chatting with people, reading posts, reading newspaper articles, reading a lot of information, gaining a lot of information, engaging in conversation. And at the end of the day, this is a shared problem that requires a shared vision and a shared solution. It also is a regional, geographically, it's a regional problem that needs both federal and state assistance to help us. If that cannot occur, then we have to look in our own backyards and look for county support via millage. If that fails, then really there's some hard questions we have to look at as far as what are the answers and what direction we go. Looking at the paperwork, the Liberty Bridge is just bleeding our pocketbooks, and we may have to consider doing something with that bridge, whether it's privatizing, not privatizing, but running our own tolls off of it, or maybe even just shutting it down and directing all that traffic over the Betts Bridge, and let the state finally pick up their share of responsibility and build the Betts Bridge as a 6-lane bridge, and let 3 lanes each way, and have lanes go inbound and outbound into the Midland Business District, and let the state finally, pay their share, and put back on them to do something with that bridge to meet our needs. If they're not going to help us with the other bridges. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Ernie Krieger. I represent the 2nd District, which is half of Bangor Township and Collin Township. I'm kind of on the same page as that last speaker, and maybe the direction different from most people. I think, like right now, Independence Bridge is down. They're working on it. Us local people who rely on that bridge to go from one side of town to the other have already figured out what's the best way of getting to the other side of the river, deciding on what time you're going to travel when the traffic's the worst, and what shortcuts you can take to engage the traffic that's going over, let's say, Liberty or Betts Bridge. My thinking is to get the attention of both the feds and the state. That bridge is now closed. Everybody's already figured out which way to go. I know with Mike Durancheck, if that bridge were to come down and not be replaced, those individuals aren't going to suffer because they shop in Standish and they go to Midland. They won't come to Bay City. And if they do, of course, they're going to use the Vets Bridge, which is what they've done all the time in the past. My feeling is we don't have a good plan of attack. Even if we were to be able to put up a bridge, how we would continue to maintain it. So maybe to get the attention of some of our legislators, we don't open Independence. Let's leave it closed. Let's see if we can get some attention. I mean, we had blades being transferred out into the thumb for wind generators. I'd love to be able to see that vehicle engage the traffic going over either Liberty or Veterans Bridge. It'd be a major undertaking. And it was tight as it was going over Independence Bridge and engaging Trumbull Road, which is another hiccup for us. Something has to be done to make that a 4-lane or at least a turn lane on that road. So my 2 cents is let's bite the bullet, let's leave her open and see what happens with our federal government when they start hearing from people in Detroit and other outside areas that have now no way of taking that shortcut through Bay City, through Bay County. My 2 cents and I'm sticking to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Krieger. Commissioner Dockett?
Hi, my name is Jesse Dockett. I'm the commissioner for the first ward in the city. The one thing that Mr. Blanc said that really intrigued me that I hadn't thought about before was pressuring the state as a region instead of as a county. As a county, we might not be big enough to do this, but as 3 or 4 counties, we might be big enough to say, hey, let's seriously look at an option here. So the idea that I kind of have is back to the napkin math right now. We're about $5 million short on the long-term maintenance. Let's start with the millage for just that $5 million. It's like 5 1/4 or something like that. That'll last 5 years. 5 years to plan and figure out what we want to do long-term over the next 50 years. And what we can do is go around to the communities around us and sell the benefits of replacing this bridge. We can go to Bangor and say, hey, all of this business that you have here benefits from this bridge. We can go up north and say, all the businesses along M13, all the tourism that happens there and north, out into the thumb and say, hey, these are windmills that are coming across here. This is money for your community. You're not in the county, so your taxpayers don't pay directly, but let's get the state on board with this and get the state funded. We need 5 years. We can get 5 years, and we can pressure as a whole region to do the right thing. Thank you.
Commissioner Lutz?
Thank you, Mr. President. The way I see it is we got 2 bridges with 2 different situations. One, we have the Liberty Bridge, which is more of a local issue, and the Independence Bridge, which is a regional issue. Looking at the Liberty Bridge, need to seek local input as to the future of that bridge. We need to work with the Chamber, the Downtown Development Authority, the Midland Street DDA, to see what impact the removal of this bridge would have on those districts. Maybe there is some funding from those districts that could be used for repairs and maintenance. And the other sources for that bridge would be state and federal money. Then we get into the Independence Bridge. I'm just going to bring out a little bit of history just so that everybody knows how we got to this point. Back in 1970 is when we first started thinking about building this bridge at a cost of $10 million. In 1973, there was a superseding agreement which changed the project cost from $10 million to $16 million. $3 million of that was paid by bonds from the city of Bay City. $7 million was paid from bonds by the county. And $6 million was paid by the federal government through grants. In addition to that, there was $1 million in bonds set out for the townships. That was their caveat to jump on board, as Commissioner Durancheck was talking about. At that time, the $1 million was supposed to fund repairs to their bridges and roads throughout DeKalb County. $275,000 of that went to administration, which included cost for engineering, site preparation, equipment rental, and things like that for those projects. It was actually $522,113.06 spent out of that $1 million to actually put things in roadways or in bridges. That left $202,886.94 unspent, unused by the townships, and don't know where that money went. History doesn't tell us. Questions to be answered. You know, we got a total cost of repairs to be made that we have to figure out. We can't have any surprises down the road. We got to know brass tacks what it is going to cost. Being an engineer, we can figure that out. Being a business owner, we can figure that out. Being a county commissioner, we can figure that out. We just have to have the answer. Once the repairs are made, how long will the bridge life be extended? Do we need to build a new one? We got to look at funding, local, county, state, and federal, just like everybody's been talking about. If a new bridge is to be built, what, if anything, of the current structure can be reused? What will the total replacement cost be? How long will it last? Will it be a 40-year bridge? Will it be a 50-year bridge? You know, bond issue is going to be tough to pass, especially in the Al County areas, without addressing road and bridge projects being part of the solution in their area. Because they're not going to pony up any dough unless they get something out of it. Just because they might be able to use a bridge a few times, you know, that's not going to be good enough for them. They need to have that ability. And then, you know, major reconstruction project most likely won't happen until after the 2023 because of the Salzburg Bridge major work being completed at that point. Because you're not going to take down yet another bridge while this is being done. So those are all my comments at this time, and I'm willing to help wherever we can.
Thank you, Commissioner Lutz. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Brunner?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Frank Brunner. I'm 4th Ward Commissioner. We've heard a lot on this table so far this morning, and unanimously, we need a solution. One of the solutions that people have said is let's shut one of the bridges down. From what I've been told a few times, and if our city manager could verify, if we shut a bridge down, we can shut it down for 89 days. At 90th day, we have to have a maintenance plan, or we can be fined. Am I correct?
That is correct, and Mr. Dion from DPW, he did call and have that conversation with them, and there is a plan that has to be in place.
Okay, and there's a fine involved with that if we do not have a plan, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That being said, tearing a bridge down, that's not free. Demolition costs, we have to have things taken away. We're looking at $10 million if we shut a bridge down and tear it down. Everybody's saying a lot of people are saying that's our magic, that's our trump card right there. We can just shut it down and get rid of it. Unfortunately, that costs money as well. So I would not like to see us do that. Granted, it's a one-time cost. It's done, it's over. Where's that money going to come from also? Can we get federal and state grants for those? Maybe. Big maybe. Hopefully we can find a solution with this, and I'm very happy that county commissioners and elected officials from the state level are taking notice and want to help us out. This is not going to be an easy decision for any of us. But hopefully we can make something work and take some of the burden off the taxpayers here in Bay County. Granted, I agree with Mr. Durancheck. People up in Williams Township don't give a darn about our basin bridges, and they're not going to want to pay for them unless they get something as well. Something is going to have to be done swift. We can't kick this down the road any farther. So I hope that we can all have open minds and work together to get this taken care of. Thank you.
Commissioner Herrick.
Thank you. I'm Tom Garrick, I'm the County Commissioner down in the South End. So I myself 22nd Street, Portsmouth Township, Franklin Township, and part of the 6th Ward. I listened to a lot of thoughts and ideas, but I'm going to be kind of quick here. But the bottom line is, it's always up to the people. You know, that's what, you know, when the options are presented, and if somebody says we want to do a millage, and if this county commission decides to put it on a countywide ballot, the people have to vote for it. Nobody's gonna put anything on anybody. So when you see, when it's all presented, when everything shakes out, and you're presented with the best option you have, you're either gonna say yay or nay. You know, so it's all up to you folks that are sitting out here. It's not, you know, it's not 5 or 7 or 9 people deciding what it's gonna be. They can put it out there, but you have the final say if you want to keep them open, if you want to close them, what you want to do. So, you know, that's the bottom of the bottom line. So we can talk about this all we want, but that's the way it's going to be at the end of the day. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
I believe everybody up here is pretty much spoken, so unless anybody at the round table up here has any additional things to add, go ahead.
I just have one thing to add is we're sitting here thinking about this, and when I think about how decisions are made in Lansing, there's kind of that proverbial table of people sitting there. And here's what happens, folks. The folks from Detroit all work together. Whether you're a Democrat from the city or a Republican from the suburbs, if it's going to help the Detroit metro area, they work together to fight for every dime possible to come there. Same thing in Grand Rapids, right? And just think about how folks are from there. If you're ever out and you say, oh, where are you from? They say, I'm from Detroit, right? And then you ask them where they live, they say Troy, they say Monroe. You know, it takes some work to get someone to say they're from the city, right? They think of themselves as Detroit. Even on the further extreme, the UP. When the UP wants to fight something, it doesn't matter if you're from Iron Mountain or Sault Ste. Marie, they work in lockstep to get every dollar possible up to the UP. Think about how we do things here. We don't say we're from a region, we don't even say we're from Bay City. We're really specific. We're from the South End. We're from Banks, we're from Caucalan. I mean, we're really parochial. We got to change our mentality so that we work with our neighbors in Midland, in Saginaw, in Alma, in surrounding areas to fight for the region. Because other regions are kicking our butts, bringing dollars back to their areas by working together. We need to do a better job here. And if you look at kind of the political landscape, the speaker is sitting in the Gratiot County area representing that spot. And the next floor leader in the Senate is most likely from Midland. And we have a rising star in the Democratic caucus sitting right here with us. We have got to work together to start fighting to bring money to our part of the region, just like they do in other parts of the state.
Thank you, Matt. Before we go on to the next item, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things that I've noticed folks saying in the community. That there's a claim that Bay City currently doesn't spend money on maintenance for the bridges, and that's false. Currently we spend about $357,000 a year on independence for maintenance and just general maintenance, and about $355,000 a year for general maintenance on the Liberty Bridge. So we don't just, they're not just there rotting away. We continue to work on them, as we can see right now. So the next item is establishment of committees and focus groups. So between the time of the last meeting and this one, I had some folks reach out to me and had some ideas on little committees that this group or even members of the public, if they'd like to join in, we could form. One of them being a Lansing lobby, where we as a group can go down as a region force and lobby folks in Lansing. The next one being a kind of like a community infrastructure focus group, and that group could go around and as Commissioner Durancheck was saying, that there's a couple bridges up in northern Bay County that are also out. They've been out for a number of years, so they're kind of going through that committee. Our group would find the infrastructure problems in the townships and our partner cities in the region, because if we were to fail at a state takeover of Trumbull, and we did a millage, we would want to make sure that the folks in the out county are also taken care of. Because I think of that bridge in Gibson Township, that little community will never be able to rebuild that bridge. So we've got to make it work for them. So community infrastructure would be a second group, and then kind of like an information group would be the third group, and that one would be tasked with kind of doing these bridge presentations to folks that are around the community. We've had certainly a number of meetings at City Hall, but we've not really gone out in the general public to give these information sessions, and I think that's kind of our duty to do so. So we could have either meetings in Bangor or Monitor or Maryland or wherever you want, just to let folks know about the issue that we're talking about, so they're more aware. So those are the three that I have. I'm not sure if some other members of of our boards here have any other ideas, but since these are kind of getting thrown on right now, I think what I'd like to do is have you folks that are up here or up at this table, think about those three that I just mentioned, and contact me or the city manager if you're interested in working on one of those, and then we can start that process. Anybody, any questions on that?
I guess my question would be, how quickly do you want to form these focus groups? Because that's the key, I think, to get us all out there in the community talking.
I would hope that the folks sitting around here that didn't be too hard of a decision on what they would want to do, and they can get back with me maybe by the end of the day or before the 7:30 meeting, so that I can let folks know who's on what. That would be a nice thing, but if not, we could take additions later on. So I would hope by the end of today or the end of the week. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, thanks. In these committees that you want to form, I would hope that our city managers get some kind of minutes or sit on those conversations, since these are, quote in my book, a city issue, and that we all stay informed on what's going on in these committees, and we don't hear it from M Live, where everybody thinks it's the holy grail of the city. And if the media wants, get out there with these committees and sit with them and see what they're saying, so you can help get the word out. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, John. Ms. Muscat, I had already discussed that the city staff would be a part of that process. I just didn't think I had to say it. Commissioner Dockett?
Yeah, I'd like to be involved with the informational groups thing. The one thing that I'd ask is that we do these informational ones at least in the evenings where people are not at work during those hours.
Thank you, Joseph. Sure.
I would just like to add to that, I think that we should do a few of those during the day as well for those who have non-traditional jobs as well, maybe working like third shift or second shift. So if we can mix them up.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Thank you all for your input. I look forward to developing these committees with everybody and going forward with them. The next item is public comment. There's a podium up in the middle of the room there. I would ask that you please state your name, your address for the record. Commissioner Clemens will be the timekeeper. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. I would also ask that in the, just in the interest of time, that we keep the comments to 3 minutes and that nobody from either board stands to 3 minute time frame. Thank you. You may begin, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Novolino. I live at 2797 Cucullin River Drive. I also own 2 businesses in Bay City and have now been a 16-year resident of Bay City, Michigan. I would like to be brief and quick here. I'm going to just echo some of the things that Mr. Keys and Mr. Fallon spoke about. The first thing I'd like to say is, as a business owner, I have not seen anything that shows any kind of economic impact to small businesses, any kind of impact study or anything of what happens if bridges go away, if tolls go away. We experienced a lot of hardship in the Midland Street Business District this year based on the construction of Midland Street, as well as some of the construction on Vermont and Midland Road. 19,000 cars a day pass through our business district. Those cars not passing through our business district create a hardship. The other thing that I'd like to speak about is something that Mr. Fallon spoke about is, if you Google Bay City, Michigan right now, and you're on 75 and you're a Detroiter moving up to 75 north for your vacation, you usually want to have a stop to get something to eat. If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur that might want to open a new business in an area that has rich history, great location, and a great way of living, beautiful view of life, as we call it here in Bay City, that narrative has to stay positive. We are in the middle of a renaissance in Bay City right now of growth for this county and the city. We can't ruin that by a narrative that portrays us as negative by miscommunication. We need to show this community that we have hope going forward, that our city can solve this problem, that our business leaders sitting amongst us, as well as our city leaders, can solve this problem for us and create a narrative that we can all get behind. I believe Mr. Fallon said, Matt said, the people in Detroit think of themselves as Detroit, and their narrative is Detroit hustles harder. What does Bay City do? What's our narrative that the poor folks in our community, as well as the wealthy and the business owners, have that can make people really want to come to Bay City and stay here? Thank you for your time.
Chris Gerard, 100 Braddock Street, Bay City, Michigan. Actually a former city commissioner. I don't envy your decision you have to make, but here's a couple thoughts that I have. We talk about the state taking over the bridge, but I'm a little concerned we haven't had these conversations already. And what has the state said to us if they have taken place, and what are the communications? We need to develop a path, and like Mayor Newsham said, we do need to do it rather quickly. We need to have some timelines and action statements. I haven't seen that, and this is an issue, as everybody said, has been going on for some time. So I think rather quickly we need to get some timelines, deadlines in place. All these groups that are going to be meeting is great, but let's put some action statements to it, because that's the only way it's going to solve this issue, is people coming together, putting timelines in place, and it can happen, it will happen if we have enough energy, and I think we do by the look of this room. If nobody cared, you wouldn't be here. But we have an opportunity to really do something great. The bridge on Independence is a regional asset, and I concur that regionally it does make sense to have that bridge be moved by the state. But the question is, do we have the willpower to make it happen, and will it happen in a timely manner? The city bridge, Liberty, probably is more of a municipality issue, some kind of bond issue, or something that the city residents can get behind. So you have a tough task, but I think we need to put some action plans in place. Thank you.
Dana Kowalski, 203 River Trail Drive, Bay City, Bangor Township. I'm a director of marketing with a MRO distributor headquartered here in Bay City. We cover all of Michigan. We deal with maintenance, repair, operations with public and private facilities throughout all of Michigan. And one of the common things that we see, which is a potential solution I haven't heard entertained yet, is name rights or corporate naming. In fact, a recent USA Today article showed that this is a solution gaining traction throughout all the United States. Many states are considering it for their infrastructures and bridges, and I think it should be considered here. I mean, we think about it locally, right? Dow Diamond, Dow Event Center, which is owned by Saginaw County, Huntington Event Park, Frankenmuth Credit Union Event Center just recently in Birch Run. Then, of course, there's Comerica Park and Ford Field, and on and on and on, Little Caesars event. So the corporate naming, when you think about the bridges, they're funnels of a captive audience coming from all over, coming through to an area. The sponsorship that could be obtained to gain funds and revenue to support the operations of those bridges and maintenance is something I think should be entertained. Thank you.
My name's Joe Beeson. I live at 306 South Walnut, apartment 412. I had to make a decision about 9 years ago because me and my mom was going to move and not to move two people at the same time. And I decided my neighbor was down the street that used to live by me was manager at Pine Towers. Had an opportunity to move into Pine Towers, and all my activities were down at Betts Park or Winona Park, close by, and I says, well, this is a good thing. I can do things during the summertime like I love to volunteer and everything. So if the bridges go down, see, my KC Corporation just lost our bingo. So we lost quite a few bucks during the month, for a whole month. They used to give us a truck once a month. So we don't know how we're gonna make up that money. And if them bridges go down and the fireworks go down and a concert in the park goes down, because we have a lot of people. I put my soul and heart into parking cars. We do hot dog stands on the 4th of July. And if we can't get the out-of-towners to come here, and a lot of them park in our parking lot and stuff like that, we ain't gonna make any money. We're gonna lose our KC. We're gonna go to a church council, and at my Pine Towers, that money helps us for our activities and our dinners. So if we can't get the out, because you know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. I've had a lot of people that I had parked in KC parking lot and come back and got their cars, and then when we shut down there, I went down to my apartment complex and stayed 2 hours to midnight watching these people come down, and these out-of-towners said, thank you for letting us park in our parking lot. Where are you from? Flint. We've had a couple parked in our parking lot come visit friends from out of the country. And they said, thank you for our fireworks, because we don't see things like this. So if we shut bridges down and we can't get people to out-of-towners in there, and people come across the bridge, they need to come across the bridge to set up their food tent and whatever they got to do in the park, we're going to lose it. We only lost 2 already, the Pig Gig and the Wendell Foundation that I love dearly. I worked for years on that. So any foundation that comes in Betts Park or that, if I can help out, I go down and help out. I love helping out charity people, doing things. I was brought up in business to work with people, so if I can work with kids or whatever, I do it. But if we lose this, then I'm going to lose my home away from home, except for where am I going to go? Stay in my apartment? Because KC was my home. I'm there 7 days a week working, and if we don't come up with the money, we're going to lose it. So we need the money. Parking stuff brings us quite a few bucks in there. So I'm hoping, I've heard a lot of great ideas and all that, and the only thing I don't like is the toll bridge. That doesn't get me, and to me, I'm not a house owner, so why should me say, I'm gonna vote for millage, why this guy doesn't want it because his taxes are gonna go up? Why should I have the privileges of having somebody else's taxes go up when mine don't go up. That's the only reason something, and all that.
Take a few seconds to finish, if you'd like.
Thank you.
Al Acorn, 5412 Easy Street. I'd like to bring up something that has been brought up today. I've lived in Bay City all my life. I look at Bay City as a major tourist attraction for the whole state of Michigan and out of state. We have two major events here, tall ships. If there has been any surveys, I haven't seen them. How many people come into Bay City? Thousands of people that come in. Fireworks Festival is another one that we have major attractions. We should resell Bay City as a major tourist attraction in this whole state of Michigan, because we are. And you ask any business person what they do without tall ships that comes in every 5 years, or the Fireworks Festival or the other events. We put on major attractions here, and we should start looking at that to resell Bay City. I'd like to see these meetings that we're setting up, ways to resell Bay City to the state and federal government. What does President Trump have on his agenda this year? Major restructuring all over the country. We have to think about restructuring Bay City and Bay County as a major tourist attraction in Michigan. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Shelley Gottschling, 106 East Arnold Street in Bay City. As a local real estate agent, the question I'm often asked is, how much are the property taxes? Both our residents and people moving in are concerned about the current property tax in Bay City as well as Bay County, and it is turning some people away from our community. With a great many homeowners opting to escrow their property taxes, we are seeing people get taxed out of their homes or having to afford a lesser home than they had desired. Our residents need our representatives to fight for every dollar available through the state and federal government. I do agree with Matt Fallon that when he says we need to join together as a region. There is strength in numbers, we are a community, and we need to act like it. Thank you.
Any other members of the audience like to come up and address this joint meeting of the City and the County Commission?
Yeah, my name is Colin Sibley. I live at 524 North Southeast Botel Road in Hampton Township. And on these committees that you're going to form, I would hope that you would have representation from both the city and the county so that everything is discussed, and like people have said, everything is put out into the public, so it's, you know, jointly instead of on one-sided or the other side. Thank you.
It's my hope that folks from the city and the county join in on both these things.
Bruce Eckhart, 810 Germania Street, Bay City, Michigan. I'm just thinking, I've only been here going on 4 years, and I was thinking the last administration had all that shovel-ready jobs they were going to create for our great country. That would include the bridges, the highways, and all that. What happened to all that money? A lot of you people are the same party are here today. Council, city, everything else, county, and it scares me. Then I look at my own city council, my city here, the managers, all this stuff. They've been in for a long time, money management and all this stuff. Now we're broke, we don't have no money. So should we entrust our city and county to have a millage? I don't think so. I do like my president, what he did though. He did cut the taxes down and all that. And everybody's getting raises and the money is coming back. I like money coming back in my city. How can we do that without paying money out? And yet making the taxpayers have to pay that much. I think we should. We've got 4 bridges. You're telling me we can't run sufficiently on 2 bridges while the other 2 are being repaired? Or one bridge going right across that never opens up, and the other bridge, somebody else will take it over. We got one company will do both. Here's the kicker. Oh, we might have to pay a toll, but I'm a senior. I'm very tight on how I handle my money. So if I want to go across that toll, I'll pay the 50 cents, or I think it's going to be free for 5 years. Makes sense. I don't want to pay no taxes. And also, they plan on giving 10 cents on every car that crosses that bridge back to the city. That's going to help my roads, sidewalks, and keep my utility bills down. I mean, that is a smart move. And I see a green light. This is fast, efficient. We have to have all this bureaucracy that seems like all these groups want to do all the time. And I just don't trust the system we got right now, who's on all that. And like I said, you see one man, he's draining the swamp, and he's doing a great job on it, and you got so much resistance. So you got 1.3 trillion he wants to get budget passed, but the way these guys are resisting right now, I don't know why. They're progressives, but this guy's making all kinds of moves, they don't like it. So I don't know what's going to happen. That's why I want to go on a safe bet. I got a company right now that'll come in here and do it. Won't cost me nothing. The city has a lot of responsibilities right now. They got a young group in there right now, city councils, and they really kind of scare me, to be honest with you. And I'd rather have pass something real quick, no company that knows what they're doing, and get her down where we got some money coming in. I like money coming in.
Thank you, sir. Your time's up.
Come you take your bridge in 10 years later, get it brand new.
Good afternoon, or maybe it's still morning. My name is Brandon Krause. I'm the Bay County Register of Deeds here in Bay County. Going back to Mr. Fallon and Mr. Key's statements earlier, we have a very positive thing going on here in Bay County and in Bay City. There's been growth in Bay City that I have not seen in years. It's amazing what these small business owners are doing for Bay City and bringing the tourism here in Bay City that they've brought. I applaud those small business owners, and I think they need to be applauded for everything they've done for this county and city. The fact that we have this issue with these bridges is very sad. It is repairable though. This is something that we can come to a resolution on. And I know that you were speaking on having 3 committees. As a Register of Deeds of Bay County, I would like to volunteer my time to be on one of those committees to help be positive and make this resolution move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Cross, can you please say your address?
My address is 4489 8 Mile Road.
Oh, sorry I didn't speak earlier. I kind of wanted to listen to what everybody had to say. I'm State Senator Mike Green. Nice to see you all. I have been very active working with the city on the bridges for my whole term. Now I'm in the last year of my last term. I'd like to see something happen that would benefit Bay City. We was able to get $500,000 the first year I was in office to help pay for the part of the needs of the bridge. And since then, we've been able to set a fund apart that pays for all the Bascule bridges in the state of Michigan, including Bay City's. I do know the bridges wore out, and I do know that you have to fix them. Unfortunately, Bay City has to bear a lot of the brunt of it. But I just want to suggest, there's one person here today from the Bay County Road Commission, and the Director Steidel was not able to make it. I would suggest those are the two experts in the room. They know probably more about fixing bridges and roads than any of us. And I would suggest you work really closely with Bay County Road Commission, Director Steidel. I've had meetings in my office with the previous city manager about taking over, I forgot the road, but is it Fremont? No, it's not Fremont, it's Trumbull. Director Steidel said he would. If you make it up to state standards, he'd be more than glad to take it. At that point, he said that. Maybe he's changed his mind now, but I really believe that Director Steidel is willing to work with Bay City. His heart really does belong here. He lived in Essexville for a long time, and he literally knows the history of that bridge because I think he was here when they built it. He's told me different times stories about it. But I'm more than willing to help you in any way I can. I have in the past. I will continue. Set up meetings with Director Steidel. I'd be more than happy to do that. But you got to remember too, when we start pointing our fingers at the state, they have to pay for this. All the residents of the state are just now paying a new millage on roads, a gas tax, I mean. And they don't want bridges, they want roads fixed. And so the state's kind of pulled there too about where to put the money. So I'm not saying there's not money available. I think there can be, and I think there's federal money available. But I just suggest you go to the experts and get their opinions. They'd be more than happy to work with you. Thank you. It's been a good meeting. I'm glad to see everybody is here and concerned about the bridges and concerned about their taxes. And I just hope you can find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Green.
I'm Leonard Block, 4138 Richmark Lane, Bangor Township, just a citizen, retired. I'm wondering what the standard formula is as far as bridge costs go. How much is the city expected to be liable for? How much should the state be granting the city? And how much should the federal government be involved in this? Now, I realize we're talking about city-owned bridges, but certainly they talk about what they get from the gas tax, which is originally, when it was proposed to the average citizenry, we thought of it as road repair. But it is lumped in with bridge repair as well. And if the city is certain that they're doing everything in their power using these maintenance funds that they are allotted from the state for bridge repair, and if it doesn't jive with the actual cost, it's time they get in the face of the state or the federal, wherever those grants are coming from, that money is coming from, and say, hey, our bridge repair costs are this, and you're only giving us this. Where's the rest of the money? Time is ticking. We have some time to talk the talk, but we're going to need to walk the walk pretty soon. We're not alone in this predicament. All across the country, we hear, occasionally you see news reports of the disrepair of infrastructure, including bridges and overpasses. President Trump just had a State of the Union message, and he mentioned a little bit about infrastructure, but he didn't get into detail about that. Maybe there will be some relief from that down the road. My feeling is we're in the same situation as far as bridges go as a lot of the rest of the country, and maybe we're not quite as seriously in dire need as others are. There was a major bridge that fell in and killed a lot of people, I think in Minnesota or wherever it was. That was a stark reality of maybe got people aware of the infrastructure disintegration with lack of money. So if we are pretty certain we're doing all we can, and if there is some kind of standard responsibility between state, city, and federal, we need to get in their faces if this is out of kilter. And if not, then you have the tough decision to make yourself.
Good morning. My name is Rodney Nanny. I work as a consultant in the area. I live in Midland. My address is 301 West Nelson, Midland. And because I work with local governments, I've been following this. And I want to say, first of all, thank you for setting up this meeting. As I said, I've been following the issue, but I learned a number of significant things I didn't know before, just from the folks that spoke today so far. So I deeply appreciate that this has been put together, and deeply appreciate those that came. I just had one thought, and that is to echo the businessman that spoke earlier on, and encourage that no matter what happens, there's a great deal of concern about the money. Obviously, money is extremely important to this process, but with the concern of money and the focus on money can come a very negative orientation towards the messaging and development of a plan of action and direction, especially related to communicating with Lansing, communicating with Washington, D.C. if that's necessary, communicating with the public. It can become negative very quickly. And I agree with that local businessman that the message has to be positive. The message has to be positive in support of the entire region, as well as, of course, support for Bay City. There's been a lot of comments about the growth and development of Bay City, and I agree with all of them. It is a wonderful town. But the message must stay positive throughout this. And there is a very important need to develop a coherent message to send out. There was discussion about lobbying, and it's both, of course, lobbying in Lansing, but it's really lobbying to the public as well to sell a regional plan, focusing on regional cooperation. And I think those are all very worthy pursuits, and development of that coherent message will be absolutely essential to the success of this. Thank you.
Gerald Lobazinski. I live on Knight Road in Bay City, or it'd be Knight Road actually in Merritt Township. It's a Bay City address, and I have a home in 1106 39th Street. And my comment is that apparently they're going to want a proposal to sell 2 bridges to the United Partners, Bridge Partners, or whatever it is, and build another bridge that's going to be all the way from Center Avenue all the way to Wilder Road. And so I was thinking this is a couple $100 million project, and I just, from a private company, and I wondered how much the property taxes are that the city is going to appreciate out of this proposal. Does anybody have an answer or not?
During public comment, there's an opportunity for you to speak up.
All right, that's it.
Responding, but just do want to clarify that the United Bridge Partners proposal started at the base of the bridge at Woodside and dropped down kind of by Patterson. So it wasn't center to Wilder. Just so you're aware.
Well, I'm aware of that, but what the issue was is how much property taxes is the city get no matter what they build. Are they going to get any tax money or not?
That company would not receive tax money.
Pardon?
They would not receive tax money. It would be
That's,
public-private partnership, that
that's the problem.
they wouldn't receive tax money, we would receive 10 cents per crossing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Charlie Congdon, 211 North DeWitt, Bay City, Michigan. At the last meeting we had last week, the town hall meeting, I heard a comment that, well, we've been studying this situation for a long time, and probably going to be another year of cogitating on it before we reach a conclusion. My personal view is the most reasonable, logical solution is to turn this over to bridge partners. They're very competent. They know what they're doing. It puts the incentives in the right place. Some of the objections I hear to that is, well, what if they go broke? They're not going to go broke. And another objection I heard was, well, what if they make a profit? Yeah, that's the idea. That's how things work when you make a profit. There's no way that the public sector can compete with the private sector, no matter how good the people in the government are, and people are very good in Bay City government. But the incentives aren't there for what we need. So I want you to think about, while we're cogitating for another year, and I can hear somebody say, well, we need some more time to cogitate a year from now. A lot of bad things can happen. What do I mean by a lot of bad things? Well, we got 4 bridges. They're all structurally deficient. So you want to ask yourself, which one is going to collapse first if we just keep cogitating? Like that bridge in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They were all prepared to fix that bridge, and then it collapsed. And a few days later, the governor of that state said, we were going to rebuild that in 2020. That's very assuring. Just a few things to think about. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, State Representative Gary Glenn, 2798 West North Union Road. It's Midland 48642, but it's actually in Williams Township. I don't currently represent the city. I'm in the middle of a job interview process for that opportunity. But just want to echo what Senator Green said, that I certainly stand ready to work with Representative Elder, anybody else to assist. I would note that in terms of a toll bridge opportunity, the technology is such that you could choose to charge tolls some days of the year and not others. Certainly you'd have it on during the tall ships and the fireworks. You could also choose to charge a different amount based on residency or non-residency, so that the people who are paying property taxes for local support don't get dinged a second time. You could choose to charge only those who are outside of the county, for example. And if you're not aware of it, maybe the road commissioner is, but the Soybean Growers Association is providing grants to local road commissions, and Midland County Road Commission has already done this, to buy new technology by which they measure more accurately the load of a bridge. So as a result, the Midland County Road Commission has reopened 3 bridges it had closed because of this mechanism that they can put on the bottom of the bridge and more accurately determine the safety and capacity over a bridge. And the soybean folks are anxious to have other people get that same kind of technology because it affects their trafficking, of course. So if you haven't looked into that, I would encourage you to do so. The Soybean Association will make grant money available to help you do so, as they did in Midland County. And I also suspect Midland County Road Commission might let you borrow it in the meantime. But that would at least give you some more accurate assessment of capacity, which bridge is likely to collapse first. That might help answer that question. But in general, we'll continue to work with the chamber. Ryan and I have had a conversation about this, Representative Elder, Senator Green. Do anything I can to help in my position in the House, even though I represent the western and northern parts of the county. Obviously, folks who live in those areas of Bay County are using these bridges. So look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Good morning. Jim Lillo, Bay County Road Commission, 5358 Brookway Drive, Bay City, Michigan is my home address. I am the engineer manager for the Road Commission, fitting follow. And I do know about the load rating stuff. So thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Green, or I should say Senator Green, if he's still here, for the kudos before. Basically, same thing. Andrew, put me on anything you want, all 3 committees. I am very versed. I've been here, born and raised here, 56 years. I have worked for Wade Trim for 14, and now I'm at the 14th year at the Road Commission. Very familiar with this community. I remember when both bridges were built. I remember the things that went down with them, good and bad. I also can shed a lot of light on pretty much everybody's question in here. Where we stand with MDOT. I've gone through it 3 times myself. The last go-around, there was some movement that let's make a deal that could happen, where they would redesignate Trumbull, the bridge, and Wilder Road for trade. And there are some things that we would look at for trading. As far as other pockets or pools or whatever of money. Interesting, just found out today that County Exec Barsha talked about this bridge down in, what is it, across the Muskegon, Amber, that Grand Rapids, that the feds paid for the tear down and rebuild. Also, local bridge fund. The numbers that I had gotten previous were $8 million over 5 years. Local bridge fund in the state is very, very, very sympathetic to large bridges. You have a huge piece of infrastructure sitting there that's $40 million, $80 million, whatever number you want to pick, and for $1.5 million a year, they don't want to see that piece of infrastructure fall down. It's a huge investment. They are very sympathetic. We should be applying for local bridge project funds every year. The call now is for 2021. Yes, that's 3 years out. They have emergency funds. I think that's a great course of action. And like I say, from the other standpoint of the MDOT and pushing that, like I say, there was movement. What we heard 3 years ago was completely different than what we heard less than a year ago. That there is actually movement, and they may consider taking that over. What else was on here that other people were interested in? But basically, there are other, I think, huge opportunities. The other thing is, I was the lead grant writer for Wade Trim when I was over there before I left. So I do know something about grants. We've leveraged $6 million to gain $30 million at the Road Commission over my tenure. So we are doing very well, and I think I could be of huge assistance to the county, the city, the community I live in, and want to see succeed as it has in the past. Not, some other people have said the same thing, not insurmountable, very intelligent, hardworking people here that I think we can get it done. So I hope I'm under my 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'm J.W. Fisher. I'm speaking for the Fisher family businesses of Port Fisher Terminals and Bay Argats. We're in support of anything that will keep the bridges open. I think this council did some due diligence before they accepted proposals from United Bridge. There was another proposal that they looked at. I am very much in support of finding the last dollar of public funding, particularly state funding. But absent that, I think it would be a tragedy, not just for our businesses, but for the city to close these bridges. I can't imagine what a site selector, Matt, would say if they came into town and saw two of them opened up and the message that sends. So I personally, and as somebody who's likely to pay more than our fair share of tolls if the United Bridge Partnership proposal is accepted, am more than willing to pay those tolls to have the option to use those bridges. I can always choose not to, right? But if those bridges are stuck open, the choice is all gone. So I will lend our support to the efforts to get state funding. I mean, logically it seems like that would happen, but I know that's been a dead-end road for a long time. So when those options are exhausted, if they are exhausted, I think the privatization option is a sound option. And as somebody who's going to reach into his wallet and pay their fair share, I enthusiastically support it. Thank you.
Any other folks want to come up and address this body? Well, we're getting kind of close to lunchtime, so. Seeing none, I guess, well, the last item is other. I guess I just really want to thank everybody again for coming, and I know that everybody at this table pretty much is taking a lot of notes. Thank everybody for coming. Thank you all for your comments. I think we've got a great basis for options for the future, and I think that everybody here wants to find a solution that affects everybody's pocketbook to the lowest amount. Thank you all. Does anybody else have anything? We will adjourn. Thank you.